on the surface, mining for minerals in South Kivu could easily be mistaken for almost serene. But the truth is, it's linked to the worst conflict since World War II. Since the 1990s, fighting in the Democratic Republic of Congo has killed more than 5 million people. The DRC is regarded as one of the most mineral-rich countries in the world, and the U.S. has legislation that requires companies listed on the U.S. stock exchange to report whether they use conflict minerals. But some critics want to repeal the law, saying it fundamentally misunderstands the relationship between minerals and conflict. And some reports suggest it has set off a chain of events propelling millions into poverty. Some miners agree.
I can't support the family like I need to because it's $2 at the end of everything. That's only enough for food.
In the past, we used to work freely. You can dig your stones, buy them, or sell them to anyone you want. As long as you had the proper documents from the mining ministry, you are free working properly. There were no limits.
But the lack of limits was the very thing that armed groups preyed upon. Others prefer that changes.
We are now working in the proper way, because there's no one who is forcing you to work. There are no guns and there are no weapons surrounding you. So we are working freely. To tell the truth, we work in good conditions.
There's a wide spectrum of potential solutions to ending the use of conflict minerals. But many activists argue it's up to the countries fueling the demand to help find a way to end the killing. Sarah Jones, TRT World.
Let's go to Paris now. Our editor-at-large, Craig Peters, joins me from there. Craig, you've written extensively about conflict minerals, including in your book, Metal Men. Tell us a little bit more about this industry and why it's just so pernicious.
Well, I covered this back in the early 80s quite extensively. In fact, I posed as a trader to get inside the business, and the only way to approach conflict minerals is to speak truth to power. And that conversation begins with discussing hypocrisy. You know, conflict minerals and hypocrisy run hand in hand. It takes a rare detachment of spirit to actually deal in these minerals, and it is a full-time job. And the reason is real simple, Azar. You go into corrupt countries. These are corrupt countries to get these essential rare earths, other essential lumps of earth, and you're dealing with corrupt regimes. Now, there are more cell phones on Earth right now than there are people. And anyone who's looking at their cell phone right now just refuses to make that connection between the corruption in these African countries and all the fun they're having on their cell phone. It's like in the old days. You could always catch a vegetarian because they were wearing leather shoes. It's the same thing here. It is not the responsibility of the businessmen to stop this corruption. It's the responsibility of these African nations who have miserably failed at this for the past 60 years.
So there is some legislation, as Sarah pointed out in her report there, including by the US, mandating that listed companies disclose where they get certain minerals from. And as we heard also in the report, there are mixed views as to whether or not it's working or helping the people on the ground. It is laughable, as you say, and it's been tried for many, many years. But what else can be done?
Well, you can throw the bums out of the United Nations commissions that deal with human rights, those who are the African countries and those who are abusing human rights, putting them on commissions. And let's talk about this law. For years, there is a trick in the trading business. It's called baptism. It's real easy to do. It's very rarely enforced. Minerals arrive usually in sacks, depending on the mineral, but usually in a sack or in a shipment, bars, whatever. And there's a stamp on it saying where it comes from. So what happens when it arrives at its middle destination? They just change the marking. They rebaptize it from another area. And that's how it works. And that's not going to stop, and no legislation is going to stop that until the leaders of the Democratic Republic of Congo and these other countries start cleaning up their acts and creating democratic societies that share in this great wealth.
Great to have your insights, as always. Craig Peters in Paris.